Have you ever received your tax notice in the mail and literally almost fainted? Well, this year, I did.
Holy mother of God!
Hey everyone, it's Justin here with LethbridgeRealEstate.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you what happened with my tax assessment, how I fought my assessment, and won. Now, I can't guarantee you're gonna have a similar outcome because it was a lot of work I put in. I obviously have expert tools available to me for data, research, the MLS system, and just local knowledge. But if you take my steps and follow the formula, apparently there's a chance that you could actually win. Okay, so like everyone in the city and wherever you're from, you get your tax assessment in the mail. And this year, I got mine, and I'll tell you, it wasn't what I was expecting. It reached a number that I thought was pretty unheard of. Now, over the past 7 years, it stayed pretty stagnant, and in the last 3 years, the city just decided time to go up. And mine has gone up $263,000 in just 3 years. So really, I went to my computer and I did a deep dive into the stats. I checked the neighborhood activity. I checked the whole west side. I live on the west side. I checked the whole city. What were the percentages of other houses that have gone up with their tax assessment versus sale value? Using that data, I quickly found a lot of weird numbers that didn't add up to me because mine seemed to be going up at a higher percentage. So once I found that, it was really easy for me to start following the steps and saying, okay, well, that's enough. We're gonna fight this one. So I'll go over the process for you. It's a pretty standard process. So step one of it is you do have to file a complaint, and then you have to give them kind of your complaint. Like, what is your complaint? And again, to make it a little harder, everything I've done so far for all the research you've been seeing and everything, it's all online. I'm getting online, I'm making PDFs, I'm doing this. They do not accept that. You have to bring in 5 copies printed to town hall so you can hand them in. I gave them all the reasons, all the sales data. Then the next step in the process is they will now send you their rebuttal. When they sent out a rebuttal, they sent me, I'm gonna find exactly how much it was. It was a 52-page rebuttal. They send a table of contents, some summary of salient facts, premise of the appraisal, property rights appraised, effective date, definition of value, market value, highest and best use method, They went over everything they could do. Neighborhood information, pictures of the property, maps, aerial photographs, everything like that. So the premises of the appraisal, they go over what the municipalities are allowed to do. That's totally fine. They go over what market value is. And this is a lot of boilerplate stuff, high and best use. They're going over what the community is rated as, where the location is. Okay, so all that's fine. And then they say we use direct sales comparison approach for value. That was my biggest rebuttal to them in one way was, well, if you're using direct sales, why is there no sales? That was my argument. There's no sales that have sold for more than $750,000 in the entire community ever. And so they started sending in other properties that were so far away, like 10 kilometers away, other side of the town, nowhere near, right? Now I'm gonna get to where I found it super egregious and I demanded an apology.
It is personal!
They're supposed to be assessing it with data, with information available to Lethbridge, what other sales are going for, but they go like this. As well as the review of the land title documentation and associated mortgage records reveals the property has 2 registered mortgages, one for $600,000 and another one for $1.1 million. Given Canada's stringent mortgage lending regulations, the city has legitimate questions about how financing of this magnitude was obtained. Their summary argument, the complainant, or me, the complaint has not provided sufficient evidence to demonstrate that the assessment of the subject property is incorrect. So now, what I get to do is I get one more chance of rebuttal. And when I read this, they give me 3 days for my next rebuttal. I was done in 24 hours and it was back on their desk. I made it, it was 27 pages long, or was it 27 pages long? 27 pages long, in and around there. And I went hard into the paint on all of their information. I created a full workup of sales for them to review. I pulled up 3,865 sales. I showed them all the sales that were built between 1980 and 1990 to kind of show that. I filtered for so much information. I gave the board so much to work with because the city just said, well, we told you so. And then I showed them tax assessments. Well, why is this one here the exact same size, square footage, has the same features, same community, and it's assessed for $700,000 or $600,000 or $500,000. And then I did say, I'm gonna find it near the bottom here, about the mortgage stuff, because I thought that was egregious and I really wanted them to know this is what's called a collateral mortgage. And a collateral mortgage is different from a traditional or conventional mortgage. Instead of registering the actual loan amount, example, $600,000, the lender will register a higher amount on title, up to 125% of the property's value. I definitely send them this rebuttal. That's the last step. So I get the final say.
We're done when I say we're done.
That's where it stops, and I'll pick it up where we go next, because next I go sit in front of the board. Sitting in front of the board, this was weird. It's like going to court. The whole thing started off with a fight 1 second in. I thought it was gonna be amicable. Long story short, now we start. I go over my initial booklet report. So any evidence entered in can only be the things discussed. So whatever I put in my binder can be discussed, whatever they put in their rebuttal can be discussed, and whatever I put in my last rebuttal can be discussed. You can't enter new evidence. So I essentially just read my binder. They read their binder, and we were able to ask questions. So my first question to them was, does the city assessor have access to the matrix system? The matrix system is where I get my data from for MLS. They said yes. Okay, fine. My second question was, did the city receive emails stating they could use the photos on Matrix to review the home? And I said, did you review the photos? No. Okay, so that's their answer. And it's recorded, by the way, so they can look it up, but they said no. I went over a lot of questions. Does this other place have this feature? Does this have this? Is the city willing to admit their fault in understanding how mortgages work? And near the end, she was saying, well, once we reviewed the photos online, we knew that it was this, this, and this. And I said, hey, my question 2 was, did you review the photos online? And you said no. So I did come across as pretty aggressive. I would say that. I hammered them with questions. They were not prepared for it. I had, if I'm looking at my notes here, a good 30 questions that I hammered them with. That's kind of how the whole session went. It was my case, their case, questions about their case, my rebuttal, which smoked them, and then closing statements.
If it is to be said, so it is.
And at the end, I was able to just give a really good, solid point on saying, I don't think they proved anything here today except for the fact that they were trying to attack me personally. It didn't work. I proved with the total facts and the numbers that none of what they said made any sense. All right, everyone. So I was about to end the video and be like, yeah, I won, kind of. But I actually just got an update while we're editing the video. So I thought, I got to share this with you. So what was happening was we did get a decision that came by and said that the city classification of the property as a fully custom home needed to be adjusted, and then they'd adjust my value a little bit. There was an issue that I raised saying that they brought in my financials and my mortgages as part of an ongoing argument. And so the board says, the board agrees with the complaint's objection that the references contained in the materials do not speak to the issue before the board. When they went to attack me on my financials, how did he get a mortgage like that? The city said, the board said, no, that's off limits to the city. So originally they said the board is directed to remove the classification and then reassess. So I was fine with that. It's a win. Probably wouldn't have been as great as I thought. And I did ask them to reduce it to last year's number. They did say to me that's not going to happen. Boom, got an email today. Post decision, the respondents requested that, the respondent being me, requested that the board set the assessment value to a certain number. In response to this request, based on the information as presented to the board has reconsidered and revises its decision. The complainant's requested assessment value of $922,000 is confirmed.
Yes! Hell yeah!
Really happy with the decision. I couldn't be happier, actually, considering it's exactly what I asked for. So fighting the city is not easy. Obviously, it took a lot of hours of work. I think I saved $911 this year in taxes, or maybe next year, depends on when they reassess this. Really happy with the win. It is a lot of work. Obviously, if you have any questions about how this process works, please feel free to reach out, leave a comment. I'd love to know if you've ever fought against the city and did you win? Because there was a guy right before me, he did not win and he was fighting it and they kind of bulldozed him. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Get in touch with us. Again, it's Justin with lethbridgerealestate.com. Thanks so much.